Welcome back to beyoungministry.blogspot.com to another blog and another podcast out of Luke chapter 8. Today we're in Luke chapter 8 verses 26 through 29, which reads, They sailed to the region of the Gerasenes, which is across the lake from Galilee. When Jesus stepped ashore, he was met by a demon-possessed man from the town. For a long time this man had not worn clothes or lived in a house, but had lived in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell at his feet, shouting at the top of his voice, What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torture me. For Jesus had commanded the impure spirit to come out of the man. Many times it had seized him, and though he was chained hand and foot and kept under guard, he had broke his chains and had been driven by the demon into solitary places. That's Luke chapter 8, verses 26 through 29. As we mentioned in yesterday's blog, in the second half of Luke chapter 8, Luke records 4 miracles. Through these 4 miracles, the power of the Lord Jesus is seen over nature, demons, and death. Today we consider the second of these, the power of the Lord Jesus over demons, in Luke chapter 8, verses 26 through 29. We begin in verses 26 and 27, which reads, They sailed to the region of the Gerasenes, which is across the lake from Galilee. When Jesus stepped ashore, he was met by a demon-possessed man from the town. For a long time, this man had not worn clothes or lived in a house, but had lived in the tombs. This is one of several situations in the Gospels where the Lord Jesus dealt with the demonic world. Throughout the Scriptures, demons, which are fallen angels, have had the ability to inhabit humans, but not against the will of the human. Humans have to open themselves up to demonic activity through means that are known to be demonic. Now the Lord Jesus is on the boat with the disciples on the Sea of Galilee, and at daybreak they are met by a demon-possessed man from a town called Gerasa, or Gergesa, as some call it. In Matthew 8:28, we are told there are 2 men. This man had a companion, but the other man becomes the focus, or this man becomes the focus. So we really don't know what happened to the second man. All we know is what we know here about this man. Luke tells us this man hadn't put on any clothing for a long time. This is about shamelessness. Nakedness is always a sign of shamelessness in the Bible. Furthermore, he was a danger to himself. Mark chapter 5, verse 5 reads, Night and day he was gashing and hacking at his naked body with sharp stones. He mutilated himself because those who possessed him were of Satan, who is a destroyer, and his demons are the same. Mark goes on to point out in Mark chapter 5, verses 3 and 4, nobody could control him. He lived up in the tombs, and when the people came on the road, he would come out screaming in his nakedness. He would run down the hill with the intent to attack and to kill. He was scary, and he had no contact with civil people. Isolation was common for this man. According to Mark 5, 4 and 5, no one was able to bind him, even with a chain, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains, and the chains had been torn apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces, and no one was strong enough to subdue him. Constantly, night and day, among the tombs and in the mountains, crying out and gashing himself with stones. This is a sad story. This explains why this demon-possessed man lived in a cemetery. No one wanted to be around him. He was unpredictable and frightening. In verses 28 and 29, we read, "When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell at his feet, shouting at the top of his voice, 'What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torture me.' For Jesus had commanded the impure spirit to come out of the man. Many times it had seized him, and though he was chained hand and foot and kept under guard, he had broken his chains and had been driven by the demon into solitary places. When this man saw the Lord Jesus and his disciples come ashore, he came running down the hill screaming. When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell at his feet. This unnamed man didn't know the Lord Jesus, but the demons did. And out of this man spoke one of the demons. Then, not only does his voice scream out, but the man, under the influence of these demons, falls before the Lord Jesus. The demon is panicked because he's in the presence of his enemy. "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torture me." Here, in an amazing way, is testimony to the identity of the Lord Jesus. The Son of the Most High God is given through a demon. Demons are timeless and ageless. They were created at one time, and they are as old as creation, older. They were originally holy angels. They have vast knowledge of the personality of God and of the Godhead, and they know the identity of the Lord Jesus. This demon refers to the Lord Jesus as the Son of the Most High God. When the angel came to announce the birth of the Messiah, he said he would be the Son of the Most High God, and God would give him his kingdom. The Most High God, El Elyon in the Hebrew, means God the Sovereign One, God the Sovereign Lord. And so they are identifying the Lord Jesus as the Son of the Sovereign Lord. At the end of verse 28, the demon says, "I beg you, do not torture me." Here's a tormented man. He's in shackles. He breaks the shackles. He's in isolation. He's in this filthy kind of living like an animal. He retreats back to the cemetery. And when he sees the Lord Jesus, he cries out and says, "Don't torture me." This man has been living in torture for many years. That's torture. But here the demon is speaking of something very particular. In verse 31, they begged him that he would not command them to go out into the abyss. The abyss, an interesting word here. It appears 7 times in the book of the Revelation. It's rendered the bottomless pit. In 2 Peter 2:4, we read, "If God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved for judgment, and did not spare the ancient world, but saved Noah, one of 8, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood on the world and the ungodly." In Daniel 10, we see angels who are fighting in heavenly places. There are other demons who, it seems, are confined to this earthly realm, the realm of humanity, and they're in the spiritual battle in the earthly realm. And then there are other demons that are incarcerated in this special place that is referred to by Peter. In Jude 6, we read, "And the angels did not keep their proper domain, but left their own abode. He has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the judgment of this great day." These are demons that are involved in what Genesis 6 talks about. When the sons of God, this term sons of God is always used of angels in the Bible. When the sons of God, or angels, saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took wives unto themselves. And they produced a race that was part human and part demonic. Now, I know that sounds far-fetched. You can read Genesis 6 for yourself. And God's judgment was to confine those demons from that point on into the abyss, according to Jude and Peter. The demons who are questioning the Lord Jesus know about that confinement. They know that God has incarcerated some demons. In the end, God is in total control. It does not matter what happens to us on this earth. We should fear no one but the Lord Jesus himself. Given that God is sovereign, we must be about his business in this world. We must be active at pulling as many as possible out of the fires of hell. My friends, I trust this blog and this podcast are useful to you in your walk with the Lord. If I can be of further assistance to you, shoot me an email at beyoungministry@gmail.com. Hey, have a great day.